All right, we are back to Craig's custom cooking, and we're going to make more deer sticks. And Craig has ground 9 pounds of
Yep,
meat.
9 pounds.
And remember, this is meat that came off of a sustainably harvested deer. And we were very careful to use as much of the meat as possible. So we've been careful not to waste anything. And then Uh, Craig's got ingredients here that season and otherwise help prepare the meat. So I guess what we're going to do is mix this all together. And Craig, it sounds like I'm going to be busy mixing by hand for about 5 minutes.
Yes. So what it is I took the ingredients here. They give you anywhere from 1 to 4 pounds of ingredients. We have 9 pounds of beef here. So what I did is took the 4, 3, and the 2, and I mixed it together. So we have the spices for 9 pounds of meat. We have the cure for 9 pounds of meat, and we have the ice water for 9 pounds of meat.
All right.
So you can just sprinkle them in and then just start mixing them all together.
All right. So I'm going to get this all going now. Craig grew up on a farm. He cannot help himself, but because he keeps referring to it as beef. So,
Yes.
so we just
I'm sorry.
That's okay because most people would never know the difference.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you have them over for dinner and don't tell them, they'll never know.
Right. And I apologize for that. I know it's venison, but I do say beef.
No, not at all, because not everybody actually thinks they like venison. Yeah. And then when they try it, they like it. And sometimes if they don't know it's venison, they end up liking it even more.
And I'm going to tell you a little story. My sister, she said she hated venison. So what we would do is we would take venison and beef and we would mix it together and we would make it as like a hamburger or a meatloaf.
Right.
And she's like, "Oh my God, that's the best food I ever ate."
Oh yeah.
But she never knew it was venison.
Right.
And if you didn't tell her, she didn't know.
Well, that's exactly right. Well, maybe it helps for people to understand a little bit of the background behind this that we've shared in some of the earlier video that we produced here, which is the fact that this deer was very sustainably and humanely harvested. And it's part of a controlled archery program that's scientifically regulated. And the fact that we have deer today is the result of this century-long process of restoring and managing lost deer populations. And today, humans play a critical role in their management, which includes participating in their harvest so that they are kept at a population level that is safe and sustainable, and that the deer don't eat themselves out of house and home, but they also don't become eliminated the way they once were. So this is part of a very, very carefully managed program that takes place in Fairfax County and the state of Virginia and all across the United States and all the other states. So I looked up the numbers, and the number of white-tailed deer we have in the United States looks like it's something as many as 36 million. And we have 850,000 to a million here in Virginia. So there's a lot of deer. And so the deer management process is a really big one and sometimes underappreciated here. So I guess what I'm doing, Craig, is I'm just working through this to try to mix it all up as evenly as possible.
Right. And you're going to find out the longer you mix it, the stickier it's going to get.
All right.
It starts to emulsify. The cure, everything is going to start to react with the meat. So.
Okay. All right. I can see some of the ingredients here popping up that need to be kind of mixed in here. And I can feel my fingers getting cold because that's pretty cold water we put in there, yes. Right?
And that and the meat was in the refrigerator.
What's the theory behind putting the cold water in? Does that cause the ingredients to start to stick more, or what's with that?
Yes, the cold water helps. Well, you want cold meat, you want cold water.
Well,
with the what it does, it breaks down the meat and it starts to coagulate. So that's what we want.
All right. And this is going to get put into a gizmo that you're going to show us that will squeeze it into these sleeves that
Correct.
put it into the shape of a stick.
Yep.
Or what I call a hot dog, but it's a stick anyway, with this nice seasoning in it. Now, let's see, Craig. My wife likes things that are low sodium. Does this qualify?
Yes. This has very low sodium.
Wonderful. And it's healthy meat all the way around. We won't have any growth hormones in this.
And my wife she's very low sodium too, so she does not like a lot of salt.
All right, so we don't have any hormones that were fed to the deer. We don't have any chemical inputs. They've been living off the land and the way nature intended.
So we're going to mix this up, and then we'll bring you back when we're ready to stuff it.
All righty.
All right, so Tom is going to take the sausage stuffer that I have here.
Ready?
And he's going to start packing it full of meat.
First time I've done this, so wish me luck.
You just want to push it in. You want to get all the air out that you can. I fill that tube completely full.
It's sticky.
It is, and that's what the curing agent and everything does. It actually helps it stick to the casings once you make it. So whenever you think you have it full enough, back full, we'll move on to the next part.
I think that's probably it.
So what we're going to do now is you just take this thing, we're going to set it on the table. We're going to create a vacuum. So now it's full. So we're going to screw the end on. And I already have the casings on here. You're just going to start cranking it. I'm going to hold it back. And you'll see there. See the come out? And that's all you do. You put your fingers here, hold a little bit of tension.
Yep.
And you just keep cranking this.
Mm.
And that's all there is to it. Just start cranking it. Yeah. And then you don't want to use a lot of pressure on the casings. You just want to leave it a little bit.
Just kind of steady it is what you're doing.
Just a steady. So now we're going to run out of casing here shortly. All right, so back it off. Now we're just going to take this. I'm going to squeeze some of it out. I'm probably blocking the camera. We're just going to tie this off.
Tie it off. And that'll go in the smoker when you're done with that.
Correct. Yep. We're going to put it in a refrigerator for 24 hours, and then we'll smoke it.
And does the refrigeration help it firm up, or what does it do?
It helps it cure.
I see.
Because you have a curing agent in here, so the longer you can leave it in the refrigerator, the more it's going to cure. I got to get on it. And then we just keep pulling it back. Now, what you do is you got to put a little pressure on it so this doesn't push back in. Now we're going to pull it out, pull it off, tie it in. Now we just pull this back, and then you begin to crank again.
All right, we'll try to just steady this.
Perfect. Just put your hands here and put a little restriction on it.
Easy does it.
this back because it's gonna get to the end.
Are we there? Yep. Looks like we're. So I'll back it off.
Yep.
Bring it out.
And we're just gonna tie it off. That's our second link. I'll let us complete this, and I will bring it back.
Well, here we are at the end of a long day's work. So I think there are a little bit over 20 links that we made using the stuffer. We finally got the hang of that. And these will then, I guess, be curled. You'll refrigerate them for a day or two anyway to let them firm up.
At least a day.
Yeah, and they'll cure up a little bit. Then they'll go to the smoker.
Yep.
And then, boom, after that, we'll seal them up. And they can be used for dinner.
Good.
How about that? Well, that's amazing. So from start to finish, this is quite an episode. Somebody did us the favor of harvesting the deer and donating it. And then we went through the whole process of skinning and deboning and converting it to all the different types of meat, including all the ground meat that has gone into the deer sticks here. And been a pretty amazing thing, but it's part of this whole continuum of things that we do when we hunt. It's not just a matter of hunting and taking an animal. It's also then taking it all the way to the finish line where it goes into the freezer and the refrigerator and then onto the dinner plate. And also that as we do that, we understand this is the product of very deliberate and diligent conservation. And so we all have to continue to do our part to make sure that this is a process that can be continued, that we'll have a sustainable deer population that will be permanent and part of the land, and that we will take care of that whole system and that whole process, and so that we can continue being able to enjoy the benefits of it. So this is really great. And I hope this has been a great addition to Craig's custom cooking. But now, Craig, you said there's one thing we didn't do that you might do next time around.
Yes, I'm going to put high temperature cheese in.
How about that? So you would actually mix that right in the meat?
Yeah, and I'll show it to you.
Yeah, and so otherwise what you do is you have this with a little bit of cheese and crackers, right?
Yeah.
Which to me seems like it would go real well. So that's the
This is it. It's a high temperature cheese.
Yeah.
So it's made so it doesn't melt very quickly. It's made for putting in sausages and beef sticks and whatever you want to do.
Wow.
Venison sticks. It doesn't melt. So when you cut the beef or the venison stick open, you'll see the chunks of cheese in it.
It'll marble right in.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that? Did I see somewhere sometime somebody had jalapeno cheese like this?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's 20 different types of cheese you can get.
Well, that's getting fancy.
Just like this. This is like a pepperoni seasoning, but you can get 7 different types of seasonings to put in these.
Well, you had to start somewhere. We had to just do this the simple way first before we got more complicated with different kinds of cheese. But maybe next time we'll do that, see how that goes. Well, how about that?
And you can buy that. I bought that online. I made beef sticks before, and I made pork sticks, the same thing out of pork, and I've used the cheese in them. So it's really good.
So after these are smoked, can they be eaten directly without further cooking?
Yes.
Well, how about that? But if you wanted to heat them up, you could do that also.
Yes. But when I'm finished cooking these, they'll be at 165 degrees, which is the level of doneness you want on any meat. So when these are completed, yeah, it's just like going into a store and picking up a beef stick and eating it. Same exact thing.
Wow.
They're completely cooked.
Amazing. And so this is about 9 pounds of meat.
Right.
This morning you did 8 pounds all by yourself.
Right.
Which is a trick because I thought we were needing every hand we had just to get through this batch. Yeah. Well, that's amazing.
It's a process. Like I said, I tried to start with my meat grinder. That wasn't working. So I switched over to my regular sausage stuffer. That's just the way to go.
Sometimes doing it by hand works,
Yeah.
sometimes the machine works. I wouldn't want to have to grind the meat by hand. Having a motor for
Right.
that's great. But when it got to this stage, doing it by hand, this is more of a subtle operation.
It is, and the problem with the meat grinder is this: once you mix it with the curing agent and the seasoning, it gets really, really sticky.
Yeah.
So trying to force that down through a grinder and out a tube, and then trying to control everything, it's too hard.
You bet.
So we used the old hand crank sausage stuffer. It worked perfect.
Well, I'm going to guess some of this is going to end up being holiday sausage this year because I know a number of people who would just love some. So it's a great thing to have. And here we are in October, so kind of the beginning of the season, and it's a great time to do this.
And if we're lucky enough to get another venison, we'll put some cheese in it. We can experiment with anything from here.
Well, we'll look forward to that and getting back with whatever else we can do here to keep life interesting.
All right. All right. Well, if you like our channel, please subscribe, hit the like button and the bell, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.
Take
Have a good
care.
night. Bye bye.